And welcome back to more political chatter. In this video, we will be talking about the 2023 gubernatorial elections and my current predictions for these races. There are three races in 2023. All three are gubernatorial elections. No House races unless there is a special election for the death of or resignation of a representative. That also goes for senators. But that likely won't happen, and what will most likely happen is we will have these three races: Kentucky, Mississippi, and Louisiana. One is safe, really, for the Republican Party, and the other two are very competitive. So I'm excited. Even though it is just three races, I am excited for the 2023 gubernatorial elections because one, this is my personal thing here. There's two candidates who I really like and I'm rooting for, and two are really competitive, and they're not only competitive but really interesting too. It really would show how Southerners feel about President Biden, and in Mississippi, most importantly, how they feel about the Republicans holding the governor's mansion, Tate Reeves. So, with that said, let's get into this election prediction. So, we will start with Louisiana because I mentioned how there is one safe state and two very competitive races. So, first we have the Louisiana gubernatorial election. So, in 2019, John Bel Edwards won a second term, or is it just one? Yeah, he won a second term. And Louisiana actually does jungle primaries, where basically runoffs, where in the first race, you know how runoffs work. In the first race, multiple people can run. So in 2019, John Bel Edwards was the incumbent governor. He should have lost, but Republicans ran two candidates, one very pro-Trump, endorsed by Trump, the other not so much. Once one of the Republicans was eliminated, the party was too split between that pro-Trump candidate and the not so much pro-Trump candidate. So when the runoff happened between John Bel Edwards and this guy, this was the pro-Trump guy, it divided the party too much and John Bel Edwards won. Now in 2023, things are different. There most likely won't be a jungle primary like we saw in 2019. But of course there is a chance on the Republican side. On the Republican side, Jeff Landry, the Attorney General, was endorsed by the Louisiana Republican Party before Election Day last year. Okay? Before Election Day last year. And it's so far from the election where people were like, why are they already deciding a candidate? This is very undemocratic. It's like Louisiana Republican primary voters didn't have a voice. The party was just picking for them. So, that being said, there is a chance that someone, represents those people who say, whoa, this is unfair. They should not have chosen a candidate this early. We need to get a different candidate, not Jeff Landry. And that could potentially force the election into a runoff, but still, I don't think that would split the party as much as it did in 2019, where the Democrat won. Plus, we don't have a Democratic incumbent. That is another factor why John Bel Edwards won in 2019. So, that being said, it really doesn't even matter who the Democrat nominee is. Louisiana is safe Republican at this point, more than a 15% margin in the runoff or in the jungle primary. It does not matter which. It will probably be a safe margin either way. So now we move into our close races, Kentucky and Mississippi. So let's start in Mississippi. So in 2019, Tate Reeves won by an underwhelming 5%. In 2015, Jim Hood, I believe, was the former governor. I guess not, huh? Well, Jim Hood, the Democrat, put up a very good fight, and Tate Reeves only won by 5. And that was when Republicans had a fine governor in Mississippi who was popular. In 2015, he won by 34%. In 2019, they didn't even have an incumbent, they had a popular outgoing Republican governor, and they still only won by 5. But 2023 makes it even worse for them because Tate Reeves is governor now, and people hate Tate Reeves. His approval ratings are down. People do not like this guy. Republicans do not like this guy. Republicans say that they could have a much better governor than Tate Reeves, especially after, where was I? Was it Jackson, Mississippi, with the water crisis? His Tate Reeves' ratings went down a lot. People do not really like Tate Reeves all that much. And what makes this race even more interesting is that the presumptive Democratic nominee, Brandon Presley, is a very strong candidate. He is the cousin of Elvis Presley, which I do believe will help him in the election. As you know, Elvis, if you didn't know, it was from Mississippi, the legendary Elvis. And he is someone who is more of a moderate, and really, he was elected not statewide in Mississippi, but like in some northern district of something like commissioner or something. So he is well known in Mississippi. He's not just some nobody, not just running because he is Elvis's cousin. But I think that he's definitely a strong candidate. Okay, I mean, he's moderate on most issues and conservative when he needs to be, liberal when he needs to be. But he's really someone that I could see uniting Mississippi once he is governor. But I will say 2019 might have been a little different because, number one, Jim Hood was a strong candidate. We can't forget that. We can't. He was the Attorney General of Mississippi, the only Democrat elected statewide. So he was a very strong candidate, very similar, in my opinion, to Brandon Presley. They are both running very similar campaigns. And we also have to remember that 2019 was in the Trump administration, where we saw Kentucky go blue in these same elections in this year, and that was only because of Trump. But now 2023, Joe Biden is president now. Mississippi disapproves of him, and things will be just a little bit different. So, that being said, I think that Mississippi stays right at this point, but I think that this one is close. I said it would be close from the beginning, and now people, and it's narrowed up even more, and, polls are showing that Tate Reeves has a very narrow lead over whatever his name is. So anyway, let's move on to Kentucky, and this one I think that Mississippi will be closer than Kentucky, if I'm being honest. Okay, might just be because I'm biased towards Presley. But I also like Bashir, so I could just be as biased to Bashir if I wanted to. Looking at Kentucky, we do have Andy Bashir. This is the only race where we have a Democratic incumbent running for another term. Andy Bashir won in 2019 over an incumbent Republican. And here, I mind you, Matt Bevin was very similar to Tate Reeves, very unpopular Republican governor in a very red state, and he lost to a very strong candidate whose relative was well known in the state. Andy Bashir is the son of someone else Bashir, who was governor of Kentucky and legendary governor of Kentucky. So maybe that's something to do with Mississippi. Maybe that proves that Brandon Presley can win in Mississippi. But this is about Kentucky now. He won in 2019. He flipped the seat. So obviously he will win another term. That is, unless Jeff Young wins, which definitely will happen. Just kidding. If you don't know who Jeff Young is, like, he's absolutely insane and he's hilarious. So on the Republican side, we do have a presumptive Republican nominee. Really, I mean, look, we have so many candidates, but at the end of the day, especially with so many in, not just one leading candidate against Daniel Cameron. Daniel Cameron, the Trump endorsed Attorney General, will win the Republican nomination, no doubt in my mind. So, looking at the general election, Andy Bashir does lead in one single Mason-Dixon poll by 9 points, but we really can't trust that. I mean, looking at the polls by very trusted polling organizations in 2022, I'm so done with polls. I don't think we should look at them at all anymore. So anyway, this one will be close. If Biden was more unpopular, I think that this would be a race for Daniel Cameron to win. However, Andy Bashir is a popular governor. We have to remember that. Even though Trump was president in 2019, and that is the only reason why not the only reason, but that is why Andy Bashir won. That will, give Republicans some sort of boost. And I mind you, 2019 was incredibly close, but by only 0.4%, Bashir won. But I think that Andy Bashir exceeds his margins in 2019. I think that Andy Bashir wins a second term as governor of Kentucky by a lean margin. So probably 2%, maybe. Something like that. 3%. I could see 3%. Upwards of 5%, really. It could get that high. So, here are my current predictions. Kentucky, lean blue. Mississippi, lean red. Louisiana, safe red. So, thank you all for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. That would mean a lot to me. Hope you enjoyed. I will see you all next time. Thanks again.